Let me show you something. Is this a bullet hole in the glass?
Yes, sir.
Would you say it was fired at an angle, calculated to hit a victim in the head here, seated at the phone in this chair?
Yes, sir.
And would you say that having failed to hit the intended victim, the trajectory indicates that this hole in the wall was caused by the spent bullet?
Yes, sir.
Would you further concede that if this bullet proves to be from the same gun that killed Harry Stone, that the same hand fired both shots?
Yes, sir.
Then all that remains for you is to dig the bullet out of the wall and take it to ballistics for a comparison.
No, sir. I've already dug the bullet out of the wall. And ballistics has already verified that it came from the same gun.
You said someone shot at you 3 minutes ago? Well, I dug the spoiler out of the wall 3 hours before that. This is Columbo Spoilers. What's up, boys?
You didn't think we'd be here, yet here we are.
Here we are.
Josh Nade and Sade, yet we're back for more Columbo.
Oh, there's always such a nervous, great energy for these Columbo episodes, and I don't know why, so we just keep coming back to them. Maybe we'll talk more about that later, but like I said, this is spoilers. Normally we review movies, but we've been doing this offshoot where we've just been loving Columbo so much we can't stay away from it. I want to introduce you to everyone else on the pod before we get into the episode. So I have actually a unique question for all three of you, okay? So don't get too comfortable when you hear the question pop off here. But Stevie, let's start with you.
What's happening?
Where are you recording from? How's your day going? And I just want to know, is there a particular maybe political moment in your life that has stuck with you above any of the others?
Okay, this will be fun. This is Stevie recording from Elkhart, Indiana. Today I had to go to a funeral, so that was sad.
Oh, sorry, bro.
But we're doing Columbo spoilers, so life goes on.
Let's go.
For me, at least. Not the person whose funeral it was, unfortunately.
Man, what a roller coaster.
Yeah, right?
Whoa. Yeah. Was the best of times, so it was the worst
Exactly.
of times.
This is Columbo spoilers. Political moment that sticks with me. Kind of Pat brought it up on the There Will Be Blood podcast. I'm a pretty fluid person. I'm not going to tell anybody what my politics are because I'm from the generation of it's none of your goddamn business. But I've always felt like I've had a keen intuition on what plays in politics and what doesn't. And I remember in high school, we had an English teacher, let's call him Mr. J. His last name started with a J. And what was it? I think it was for one of our assignments, we had to watch the CPAC, I think it was, before there were chainsaws and nonsense and Nazi flags. So I'll never forget during the 2008 election, I forget where it was leading up to, Sarah Palin got marched out and gave this speech with a crazy accent and rah-rah things happening. And I remember thinking I don't know, everybody's so happy. And we went back to class and Mr. J was pumped. He was like, this woman's a slam dunk. She single-handedly won the election for John McCain. It's over. And then it was a couple days later, she got in the interview circuit and she sounded like she had an IQ just below Forrest Gump. Possibly one of the dumbest people that was ever involved in politics. And it will always stick with me that one person tanked a campaign on that magnitude so hard, where she just sounded so out of her league. And I understand she's from Alaska and had a crazy accent, but she just was saying things that were just very troubling to hear. If dinosaurs existed or not, or, just saying kind of these folksy things and not really giving answers as a vice president, which I get. It's like she was running for president. But I think her getting chosen as the vice president single-handedly gave Barack Obama the election, no matter what.
What insight into Russian actions, particularly in the last couple of weeks, does the proximity of the state give you?
They're our next-door neighbors, and you can actually see Russia from land here in Alaska.
I believe she famously said she'd be good at, international policy because Alaska has a close border to Russia. which it does, but it just strikes you as an odd comment, you know?
Yeah, it just, and then, you know, SNL, like, that'll be always famous on SNL when
Tina Fey
and Amy Poehler.
Is Sarah Palin kind of attractive, or was she then? Is that what this was really all about? Like, attractive young woman joining the circuit? Like, this is electric?
Well, Dick Cheney is
unknown.
a war hawk, and she came off as a dummy in the media, so it was kind of undermined his whole persona that he's built up for decades.
No, John McCain wasn't a war
John
hawk,
McCain,
though.
yeah. I mean, they're both war hawks.
Is he?
Yeah,
I don't
true.
know. Maybe he is.
It seemed like such a strange choice, though. Like, you know, governor from Alaska.
They wanted to have their first. Like, it was going to be either the first black person. So they're like, okay, let's throw a woman in here so we can have the first woman VP. You know, it was like they had binders full
There's
of women.
no way she passed vetting. There's not
She had to
a
be one of
way.
the only women in the Senate or something, right? I mean, there was barely any women back then in Congress or the Senate.
There's no way she would have passed vetting for just vice president, though. Like, there's no way they went through a strenuous process. They just literally threw names in a hat and said, woman sounds good. Like, it just, I really believe John McCain was going to win. And then Sarah Palin came on board and everybody was like, what the fuck? Like, it was that bad. That will always stick with me, how bad that was. When she went on, like, Good Morning America, Today Show, like, when they started parading her around, it became very apparent very quickly that she was, like, either gifted grades or somehow scammed her way through school.
They should have just ran Dick Cheney back.
They
Gone
really
for
should
a
have.
repeat. Just
It might have worked.
Hey, you did really well last time. We want to keep you on board.
Yeah.
Part of the team.
Let's keep bombing
You're
people,
crushing
huh?
it.
Let's keep those bombs going.
All right. Well, man, I don't think people tuned into the Columbo pod to hear us diatribe about, to hear us complain about Sarah Palin for 10 minutes. But we're nearing
your
that mark.
question.
20-year-old politics.
Is it my question? Okay, Mikey, you're up next. All right, buddy. Here's my question for you. Where are you from? And also, do you have any like favorite media portrayal of politics, or maybe even like corrupt politics that you can think of, even if it's just like a loose connection?
Yeah, Mikey recording from Chicago, Illinois. Just an average day, Josh. Not a good day, not a bad day. Thank you for asking. Just a regular day. Got back from work, watched Columbo, so it ended up being a good
nice.
day. Politics in media. I will say, House of Cards. I talked about with someone earlier this week, and we were talking about how it had such a moment and how it all ended so abruptly and pretty terribly with Kevin Spacey leaving the show. And I don't think I ever finished that show after he left. But I was talking about House of Cards this week, and
It was a slow fade, Mikey. It was bad. It's rough.
yeah, because he's like not even in the last 2 seasons or something, right?
Right. And they just kept making them, kept pumping them out.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's like it really was a house of cards.
And then we talked about Tina Fey as Sarah Palin. That was a huge deal back when we would watch SNL regularly. So it seemed like that was just always in the media at the time. But I don't really go for political comedy or anything like that. So I try to stay away from that because I see so much of it at work anyways. So I try to avoid any sort of political media. But man, back in the day, House of Cards, that was a great show. Unfortunately to say.
Mikey is always kind of like ahead of the news because of your job. Like you always text the group thread like, hey, did you guys know this is happening?
The latest war crime.
Yeah.
Or
Is there anything we need to know
terrorist
right
attack.
now as we record this pod, Mikey?
Oh,
Are we
man.
good? Are we all set?
Gene Hackman had a hell of a day, let me tell you.
Oh, no.
You guys are going to find out about 4 weeks before this episode comes out. But
Gosh. All right. Well, Pappy,
Yeah.
maybe we should save the third time we mentioned Sarah Palin to the end of the pod. So I beg of thee, maybe don't bring her up in your answer. But, Pappy, where are you from? How's your day been, little buddy? And I want to know your just theory on, in real life, how much blood do you think politicians have on their hands? And I'm not talking about
one JFK.
Like, we see a murder by a politician in this episode of Columbo. Mikey talked about House of Cards, and that's politicians with like murdering people personally. We talked about The Godfather very recently. We did a 6-part series on that, and Michael has this one line to Kay where he's like, "You don't think politicians murder people? Who's naive now?" or something like that. Is that correct, Stevie? Just quick fact check.
Politicians don't have people killed, Michael. Well, now who's being naive, Kay?
Pappy, where do you stand on that? Do you throw a percentage out there, maybe? How many politicians do you think are murderers or something like that? That's the vein I want you to travel with here.
I think the better question is, what murder percentage are done by politicians? 'Cause I bet it's pretty darn high. My day's been good. I have a cyst that got popped under my armpit. I love telling the story to anybody who will listen to it because it's just so disgusting. And it's so
Pat's
painful.
gonna break his own HIPAA.
Yeah. I sprayed Pat grease everywhere all over the procedure room.
Oh my God, dude.
But yeah, it's healing.
That was not
Fine.
part of the question. That wasn't even today.
You asked how my day was.
That wasn't today?
Well, yeah, I don't listen. Politicians are probably amongst the most prolific murderers in all of history, right? Like, they gotta be.
George Washington definitely has a few bodies. He was.
Do you really think so? Like, really?
I think historically speaking, definitely. Do I think that there's like the mayor of Goshen is like having people bumped off? No, I don't think that's the case.
Where do you think that power struggle starts to become murder? What level of government, Pap?
I don't think it's a level of government as much as it would be like level of tolerable corruption, right? And that's like, I don't know, as fucked up as the partisan divisive state is of our country, right? And how the two-party system is just tearing us apart as a nation. At least they have like a very high incentive to police each other and keep each other honest, right? So if someone like, I don't know, if I'm trying to think of a funny example, but a lot of them are like, people are going to think I'm a conspiracy theory. If
Give
Dick
us a
Cheney,
real fun one.
If Dick Cheney like was shooting people or something, right? Oh wait, never mind.
Right in the face.
Right in the face.
Yeah, well, see, but then we would all know about it.
He tried.
Right? Like, they want to catch each other. So Josh, I don't think it like happens very much, if I had to guess.
Josh, to answer your question, I think it starts when you become a United States Senator.
Do you think they can kill people?
I think they can tell people to kill other people.
Columbo, season 3, episode 3 is called "A Candidate for Crime." Stevie, I know you've had kind of a long day and you didn't want to host this episode because me and Pappy love it when you host these episodes, but can you start us off a little bit here? Like, maybe just like, what are the initial vibes and who are the main characters? Who's the guest actor? Like, just any setup, because you're the chosen Columbo man and you handpick this episode like you have all of them. And I appreciate that, Stevie. So do you mind just getting us started?
This is fun because this is episode 3 of season 3, which is the episode after Any Old Port in a Storm, the first episode that we did. So it's kind of fun to like coming back to these things because I don't think it would have played as well to like play these episodes back to back. It's kind of just fun to jump around. But in the first 5 seconds, you immediately know who the murderer is. He's running for re-election for the Senate, right, Pap?
Senate in California, yeah.
So is he a state senator or a United States senator?
Definitely United States senator.
And I'm not sure if it is re-election. They said it's like a special election. So I don't know what that implies.
Like a gubernatorial runoff, or what is it? And there's a lot of fancy words thrown around with politics.
Someone else died that he killed. So
there you go.
Like, just special election for his spot.
He's incessant about murder.
I believe that any candidate for high public office who has pledged himself, as have I, to the eradication of organized crime and all the filth that it engenders, had better possess whatever selfless dedication, whatever sheer guts may be required to stand alone. with his only protection being the courage of his convictions, regardless of personal risk. This is what I believe, sir.
Thomas Jefferson couldn't have said it better.
So with the election less than a week away, Nelson Hayward, candidate for the U.S. Senate, in a race to fill the seat of the late Harold Lynch, will have round-the-clock police protection following the reported threats against his life.
No, but his name's it's Nelson Hayward, and played by Jackie Cooper. Do you guys know what Jackie Cooper is famous for?
Mm-mm.
Well, he was in Superman, he was in Superman 2, and Superman 3 as Perry White.
With Gene Hackman.
Exactly. Rough day for that fella. But the whole point of this is, the reason Columbo's even there is there's been a lot of death threats on Nelson Hayward's life for being a man of the people, being his own man, can't be bought. You know, he's going to be one that stands up against these, you know, I guess you can call them mafias thrown around a lot in this episode. About, you know, all these illegal things going on, and Nelson Hayward's going to be one to take him down. So he's getting a lot of threats from phone calls. You know, he's talking to the press saying how he is, he's not going to stand down. He's the one that stands up to it. And Columbo does this beautiful thing where the camera zooms out, and you see his campaign manager, Harry Stone, watching him. Then we find out Nelson Hayward's mistress from a hotel room. It's all great.
Special effects here.
It's a lot of fun because you know in the first 5 seconds who the murderer is. Like, Nelson Hayward is a ball of slime. To Jackie Cooper's credit, he plays it great. And you know immediately this man is a terrible person. So it's a lot of fun to start with.
We've never seen Columbo this early, right? Like, he's right there.
First minute?
With the murderer. Yeah. He usually comes in way later.
Okay, we're going to get to Columbo in a second, but Mikey, like Stevie says, we know who the murderer is. It's Hayward. He's a scumbag politician. But tell us exactly how the murder goes down.
Yeah, Hayward, I guess his excuse for having his campaign manager do a lot of this stuff is that his wife is having a surprise birthday party. And so he wants his campaign manager, Stone, who he hates, because he's making him break up with his mistress to finally get this campaign under control and like finally win this election. No red flags. He's gonna be a happily married senator, is what this guy is saying. Hayward doesn't want to do that, so he's gonna kill his campaign manager. And he tells him, get in all my clothes, get in my car, and drive to the beach house, and like you'll have the cops that are protecting me tail you to the beach house, and you can just spend the night and get a cab or whatever. And so he does that. The cops follow him, get lost. They don't make it to the beach house. And Hayward meets Stone there. He like pops out of the shadows and pops him like 3 times from across the garage. And he takes his Alexander Cooper Submariner, takes it off of his wrist, replaces it with a different Alexander Cooper model watch, and smashes it.
Dude, what an inside baseball joke that is. Good Lord.
Just kind of makes it look like a struggle. What else does he do there? He kind of just only takes the watch, and
he does turn on the light switch, which is key. Remember that for later.
He's got to be able to see, you know.
But of course, nobody can hear it because he has a little silencer on a revolver, which I've absolutely never seen before. I've never seen a silencer on a revolver before.
It's like an inch long. It's like the most effective silencer ever created. It's the best.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And then Hayward zips off to, I guess, his regular house and meets his wife. And his wife, looking very sexy in a nightgown, showing tasteful amount of nipple on Columbo at this time. I thought that this was pretty risque for the time, but he like surprises her. There's like 30 people there that pop out of the woodwork. She's just getting hammered by herself, and she doesn't notice all these people there, but he plays it off cool, and he just tries to have a normal birthday party with her after that, and then Columbo will eventually show up.
Pappy, I want to come to you for the eventual Columbo showing up, but before I do, Stevie, Mikey mentioned he commits this murder because his campaign manager says no to the mistress idea. It seems like there's a lot going on, though. Do you got any more to say about his motive here before we kind of continue on?
Why kill the bitch wife when you can kill the guy who wants you to give up your mistress? You know what I mean?
I need her.
It's got to be one of them.
I need them both, but I don't need you.
Bitch wife by proxy. Classic.
I mean, it just, you're talking about like if there's any things like kind of the subtext of why he would kill Harry.
Yeah, why he would, and like his true, like kind of long-term reasons for maybe doing that.
Okay.
Because like he could have snuck his mistress back in over time. Did he really need her in the next like 48 hours? You know what I mean? Like, this could have played out differently.
So here's what I think. And this is just what I think, but I also think Nelson Hayward is a scumbag, right? How old do you think his mistress was?
25.
Okay, here's
the
my
exact
thought.
same age gap of Gene Hackman and his wife.
Oh, come on.
59 and 29. Something like that.
I love it,
That's what we're
Josh.
looking
Keep
at.
going with these.
Dude, I'm not. That's true.
Gene Hackman is going to be... Gene Hackman's going to be Josh's new Eric Clapton. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, no.
But, so here's what I think. I think that Nelson Hayward didn't want to stop just being a United States senator. I think eventually he wanted to get to governorship and eventually wanted to run for president or vice president. Something way up the ladder, right? I think, you notice him and his wife don't have children, right? I think that she was unable to bear children. And I think to advance his political career, he found someone young that probably could. And I think the whole point was after he was elected was to get divorced, marry this woman, marry the mistress, and then start a family to show kind of like the whole family aspect of like going upward in politics. That's what I think.
A high quality Stevie question corner for us this evening. I hope everyone enjoyed that.
And I think that Harry Stone would have thrown a fit and raised a big stink at his plan of doing it. So he had to get Harry out of the way because Harry controlled his every single move.
Well, apparently this Jackie Cooper is a very attractive man. Couple ladies vying after his attention, but we'll get into him a little bit more later. Pappy, as promised, introduce us to Columbo, a very unique introduction, just kickstart us into the actual episode, because the episode kind of always starts with Columbo. There's always this prelude, the murder, but now we get into it.
Yeah, he's back. I mean, speaking of very attractive men, don't sleep on Peter Falk. Josh, the nice head of hair. But he's in a dentist chair this time. And I thought the contrast between the murder plot and like the Columbo part was like one of the most stark in terms of, you know, the murder is a high like concept political thriller with like intricate like lovers and stuff like for Columbo. And all of a sudden Columbo's just like doing a who's on first bit about too bad? Like, you mean you have two bad teeth or it's too bad? Like, tooth.
It's too bad. What's too bad? What do you mean too bad? You mean too bad TWO or too bad TOO?
What are you saying?
No, I don't know what you're saying, two or two. When you say too bad, you mean too bad like too bad it's a rainy day or too bad that they're two to the bed?
It's too bad. The wisdom tooth's got to come out, and the molar, we can save it with a temporary.
It's really silly when he's in the chair. And there's also a bit of a, like, hey, not all Italians are in the mafia. The more you know. PSA, too. That happens here. That was nice.
Just a night dentist appointment.
Yeah, that was late.
There's kind of a weird, like, blinking effect of a light in the background. I don't know if that was on purpose. I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be night or day.
And does he hear it on the radio? Is that how he finds out about the...
Yeah, you're right. It must have been about 9:30, 9:45 at night, right?
Yeah, because he, once again, Columbo just hears about someone dying in the press and the paper and the radio and goes right there to investigate. I don't know. Do you guys like this part? I thought it was pretty goofy.
Well, I think what is most notable here is that, well, first of all, they talk about his Italian heritage like a lot, and we always hit that beat a little bit. But like the whole next scene where Columbo goes to the crime scene, he's clearly drugged from being at this dentist visit. Did you catch that, Stevie? He's acting real goofy, don't you think? I don't know. You probably know better than I am what he's on. I don't know.
Laughing gas, Novocaine, you name it. He's on all the good stuff.
Dude, I think it's the 70s. They just give him cocaine right in his teeth.
They probably just gave him cocaine. You're right. He seemed very distracted that, like, throughout the entire crime scene, which Columbo, to me, does this
He goes in the back of a hearse.
Which is amazing. Columbo, to me, does... I feel like there's something like this in every episode where there's just a busy scene, right? There's a million moving parts in every Columbo episode. There's always one scene where there's a million things going on. And Columbo is just trying to find his footing throughout the entire thing, which is just asking, crazy questions like, were the lights on when you got in here? Kind of like, who was here, first man on. Like, he finds out that it was Harry Stone that was murdered and not Nelson. Also, the commissioner shows up. And the funny thing to me is Columbo is the commissioner's pen, right? That Columbo can never find, which is like, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? And eventually makes that comment like, where are you always running off to? Like,
I love that, Stevie.
Awesome. It's a great parallel, right? Columbo is the pen that he never has to the commissioner. It's a lot of fun. And so, kind of like what you said, Josh, like, I love the fact that it just gets so busy that Columbo chases down the hearse and crawls in the back with it, and his boss is screaming at him like, where are you? He's like, come in, sir. Like, it's funny. And so Columbo gets tasked with the great privilege of, hey, Columbo, I'll be in charge of Nelson Hayward's securities. The commissioner said he'll take care of it. I need you to find out who this crazy lunatic is who's trying to kill Nelson. And we learn really quickly, Lieutenant Columbo doesn't have to stray very far at all in this episode. It's a lot of fun to watch.
I love the cop. Columbo's like, how did that conversation start? And he's like, I don't know. I wasn't listening.
I don't know. If you're the detective, you tell me.
Columbo has no bones about having some things that are just straight for entertainment and don't pertain to the actual mystery. Speaking of that, we get into what we think might be our second murder. Have we talked about this at all? How there's a surprise party that's going to be a murder, but then it's just a surprise party. I think, Mikey, you hit on it a little bit, but we need to go back to that because it's happening simultaneously. And, Pappy, I don't know if you want to start us off with this, but basically Columbo has to break the news to the people at this highfalutin party that, like, the campaign manager has been shot.
Yeah. This plot is pretty nuts, just in terms of, like, what the senator or would-be senator is trying to pull off here, right? Like, there's a lot happening with his plot. Like, at one point, he has to sneak away from the party and make a phone call saying, like, hey, I'm mafia. I killed the senator. And, like, hangs up for some reason. Like, it's not the most obvious thing in the world. But yeah, when Columbo does show up, the mom or the wife is so drunk all the time that she doesn't, like, really understand what's happening. And the senator kind of overacts, too, a little bit in the situation. He's like, oh, Jesus Christ, I loved him so much. And even the wife's like, what?
My sweet Harry.
Yeah. We were like best friends.
Brothers, he and I.
That's why he's not at your wife's birthday party. But yeah, I don't know. I think Columbo is suspicious right away, Josh. Wouldn't you say? Like, I think I think he's picking up something's a little off here, and he even starts asking questions about the party.
Did you know, sir, that he was going out to your beach house?
Yes. I told him to spend the night there.
All I can say, sir, is whoever did it will get him.
He wasn't just a campaign manager. He was a very close personal friend.
High Columbo in the back of the hearse was already cynical. Like, it's instantaneous for this guy.
Something's just off very quickly, right? And I like the fact that we get to see how much of a scumbag the senator is at the party. It's kind of like that zoom in shot to the wife where, this is when, like what Pappy said, Nelson's overreacting. He's like, we were best friends, him and I. Can't believe he's gone. Leave me alone. And the wife's like, who the fuck is that guy? You know what I mean? We're like immediately alerted that like something is just off here. And, I also love when Columbo gets to the party and, we know what's happened, but no one else does. Everyone's kind of drunk, being like, take your jacket off, have a drink. This is over the security detail. This is that and the other. And it's kind of fun to just watch, to see Columbo get a little frustrated. Like, guys, someone's dead, for Christ's sakes. Like, let's just get on with this. But I find it to be a fun episode. The fact that we learn that Nelson and his wife have a bad relationship just from the conversations they're having, but he doesn't kill her. He loves her that much. Or he hates her so much that he was going to kill the guy that was going to stop him from leaving her. It's a crazy way to look at this, right? Like, he's like, I hate you so much, I'm not going to kill you, but I'm going to kill the guy that was going to stop me from leaving you. Like, it's just awesome.
Kind of subverts your expectations of a classic bitch wife episode.
But I don't think she is a bitch wife. I think he's just a scumbag.
She's drinking because of his behavior.
Exactly.
Not the other way around.
Columbo buys, I guess, in a way, Hayward's excuse that he's like grief-stricken and just wants to be left alone. So Columbo leaves this party, but as the viewer, we do get this like really quick scene where it is just the husband and wife, Hayward and his wife, not his shorty, but his real wifey. And
not his shorty.
They basically really lay bare that like, hey, I'm drinking because you are clearly sleeping with someone else. I probably know who it is. And that she is kind of suspicious, maybe even that he would throw her a surprise party because he's a piece of shit. So, like, I don't know.
There's even a greater depth to this scumbaggery, though, where they're kind of embracing and, he's just like, I'm so worked up because that bullet was for me and this, that, and the other.
Oh, my God.
And he's like, I want you to campaign with me again, like in the old days. And he's like, bring that secretary we hired for you. What's her name again? Linda. Like, he's like,
yeah,
the one with the bags.
Yeah, how much of a scumbag do you have to be like, come with me, we'll settle this, but also bring my mistress that you have no idea about.
Who I hired.
It's just, that man has no depth to his like depravity. It's insane.
He thinks he's JFK.
Yes.
A true politician.
Josh, can I mention one more thing about the drunk Columbo scene?
Dude, mention everything. I don't mean to blaze through this. Please.
Well, when he's standing over the body, the dead body, and he's like very remorseful and serious, and like one of the guys goes, no, it's not Hayward, it's a campaign manager, and Columbo is like, oh, thank God. And he's just so happy and relieved.
Thank the heavens.
Puts his hand on his head.
Yeah, oh my gosh, hold on, that was almost awful, or something like that. Like,
I think he's really drugged up. I'm giving him I think that's his dentist's fault. I'm dead serious. I think that's what the episode tells us.
And not all Italians are in the mafia.
You give a little, you take a little. After that scene where the marriage is clearly seen to be sour, we have what might be the most classic scene of the episode and one of the most classic Columbo scenes I've ever seen in my life. Mikey, I want to delve into this a little bit more than any of the other scenes, but I'll let you get us started. Columbo comes to Hayward's office the next day after the party and literally starts doing like a PowerPoint presentation, right?
An unprepared PowerPoint, but yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of going through the scenario in which Stone got murdered at the beach house. Before that, he sees the mistress walk into his office. He talks very loudly in front of like 20 people to Hayward about the investigation, and then Hayward goes into the office for some time.
I worry about you.
How's that?
Well, the murder.
Oh, I'm well protected. I'm overprotected.
I still worry.
That's nice.
You know, Harry was right about one thing. I shouldn't see you until Election Day is over. And anyway, it's just a few days.
Mm-hmm. They're like making out in there. I think everybody knows. And then Columbo will eventually go in there after she leaves and walk through his idea of what happened at the beach house on like the back of campaign poster or something. But he's just kind of doing his Columbo thing. He's bumbling through it. He's needing a different pencil. He actually has a pencil, but it's not the right kind. It's not going to work. So he gets a big old Sharpie, and he's kind of explaining how this would be really difficult to pull off because the car would be blocking the entire road the way this would-be assassin would be parked. So they go through the different scenarios or whatever, and Hayward is kind of like pointing out, well, he could be parked like this and thus shot from this angle like that. And Columbo's like, yeah, sure. But Hayward is like insistent on kind of like his version of the story. And Columbo's still like going through his fake processing thing where I think he already has this guy as suspect number one. And he's just kind of slow playing him.
This scene is great because as convoluted again as like this would-be senator orchestrating a switcheroo, a fake surprise birthday party, a fake mafia hit that's a mistaken identity that he pulls off himself personally. Like, as convoluted as that is, Columbo doesn't have a lot of concrete clues, so he must rely on like psychological warfare. And that's what the scene is all about. Even like before he even gets into the PowerPoint presentation, he is taking his sweet ass time with every word that he says, like rerouting the conversation, looking for a pen, looking for a marker. Like, it's so good.
Hayward's getting pissed off because it's taking so long. He wants every scene. He's like, Columbo, you're taking forever. Let's get to the point or whatever. So he's always on his nerves.
Lieutenant, please, just get to the point.
You know, my brother, he's 38. He's still got his sneaks from high school, you know. See, this is embarrassing. You know, the one time I have a pencil, it turns out to be the wrong kind. Could I borrow that marking pen?
Certainly. Excuse me, Lieutenant. Don't misunderstand. You're a very nice man. I like you very much, but I would hate to have to depend upon you if I was in a hurry for something.
Geez, you know, that's what my wife says.
I'm sure she does. Get to the point, Lieutenant.
At the end of the day, it's just to fuck with Hayward, just to get him riled up to see what he says.
You know, this is something I've been thinking about a lot, and it's a reoccurring theme in Columbo. And I was going to tell you guys, maybe tritely, like, hey, if I'm ever tried for murder, remind me not to start getting into like theories about the murder with the actual like lieutenant on the case. But I think, Pappy, what you're saying is true, right? Like, is that why he's getting them riled up so that they'll be emotionally or maybe like a little disabled mentally so that they will start getting into the nitty gritty and they might slip up and say something new? Or is this just simply like a TV device to be fun to watch?
No, I think it's better than that because in one way you could say, yeah, this whole case comes down to a smoking gun, like a literal one smoking gun clue that puts him away. But Hayward does that because Columbo is making him go absolutely fucking mad with like just everything that he's doing. So he's making him like double down on trying to prove that he's the victim. I think this is good. Just like every time Columbo's like, no, I'll be your bodyguard for the rest of the day. Just all the little things he does chip away at his sanity.
He does quite a few things in this room that just, you think he's leaving and then he doesn't. And he comes back,
Good
and you think
Lord.
he's leaving, and he doesn't. And he comes back, and he's like, oh, just what? He does like 5 just one more things. And you can tell it's just eating at the center. It's hilarious. The big one to me, though, was the engine being hot. I thought that was a nice little clue in this, where he's like, it's running for so long. I got there 40 minutes after. Your engine not hot. I go back to my car, engine hot. Like, it's just clues he's looking for at the beginning you don't realize he's looking for, but it ends up being important later on. And then I like the little tip of the cap where, the Columbo knows that the senator's having an affair with, what's her name? Is it Linda?
Oh, yeah.
Or he's like, she came in here to get an itinerary, left without it.
Oh, she got her itinerary.
She got it all right. But it's those little things where Columbo's onto this man like from the start, and it's awesome to watch.
So after the confrontation where they talk about a lot of ins and outs, he does one more thing. So this is one more thing one after a bunch of other shit, right? This is the longest scene of the show, by the way, of the episode. He does one more thing, and he talks about that itinerary that you mentioned. He does one more thing, number 2, where he talks about the drive from the office to the beach house and how the engine's not hot, like you said, Stevie. He does another one more thing where he says he's going to be on the security detail. Then he does one more thing where he asks, what'd you pay for that jacket?
Yeah.
Which brings us into the whole next plot point. Pappy, I know you love these kind of scenes. We get a side character. This is like another Taylor. Maybe we've had a couple Taylors Columbo episodes already, but take us into this. We're in a new scene now.
Yeah. Columbo is shocked to learn that the jacket costs $200. Doesn't come with pants. No, it doesn't come. Just
No
the jacket
shoes?
is $200. Of course, Hayward gets these custom made at his tailor, I think in like Beverly Hills or something. I think he says. So Columbo heads out there, and he's trying to sort of ascertain how the senator could have gotten a brand new jacket that matches the jacket that his campaign manager was murdered in so quickly, especially if it's custom made. And I don't know. I think there's a couple shots taken at Columbo, maybe more so by Hayward, the senator, saying like, "Oh, that'll be a challenge for them," or something. When Columbo agrees to
describing him like Quasimodo or something almost.
Yeah, but yeah, like he's gets the same color and everything. There's a big back and forth about like what exact shade of suit Columbo wants, right? I don't know, because that is a crazy move, right, Stevie? At the end of the day, for the senator to be like, I got to replace the jacket I shot this guy in, so I'm going to order it 10 days in advance.
It does like fall in line with who like Nelson Hayward is, though, right?
Yeah.
At a certain point, like this man had it meticulously planned out what was going to happen. And Nelson is a guy that strikes me as like, I love that jacket, but here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to make sure I have another one just like it because I love this jacket. You know what I mean? It is a crazy move, but it makes sense like for who like Nelson actually is as a person. And I know we get sleep-deprived Columbo in a lot of episodes, but he's like super sleepy in this one. I mean, he's covering his face with newspaper to get, a 10-minute power nap. But I do like how everyone in this episode is extremely impatient with him, especially the senator and also the Taylors in Beverly Hills. They're just trying to get him in and out of that shop like that. They're like, come on, dude, like, let's go. How many shades of brown are we talking? How soft you come? Let's go. But it does, like, find that clue that, like, Nelson ordered this 10 days in advance because he's an absolute narcissist and psychopath.
There's, like, a funny joke in here, too, where Columbo's like, I'm having an affair. And then the guy's like, oh, an affair. And he's like, with my wife.
Bowling league.
Yeah.
$17.50 a plate.
Okay. Do you guys want to know how much $17.50 was in 1973?
Yes.
$125.
Oh, wow.
Whoa. What?
Yep. And then $200 jacket in 1973 today costs $1,500.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
Camel hair.
So it sounds odd, like we're talking about, but $17.50, that wasn't like the cheapest thing in the world back in those days.
It's a nice bowling league.
But it still seemed like that Taylor turned his nose up to it anyway.
Yeah, a little bit.
This is a very like working man Columbo we see, because there's also a big scene about how much of his car is a piece of shit later on that comes. Like, Columbo makes it very clear, for being the genius that he is, he's severely underpaid.
Columbo's car is kind of famous, right? I mean, you know, there's a lot of self-deprecation, a lot of Columbo episodes, but I do like the fact that like people turn their nose up at the bowling league dinner. You know, the senator kind of implying like, no way in the world you're going to buy a jacket like this. The LAPD, like, you know, kind of going at him about his car. It is a good episode to kind of break Columbo down. He takes it in stride.
Yeah, my favorite line from Hayward is like, Columbo's like, I'll probably keep this jacket for a while. And Hayward goes, yes, it looks functional. Or something.
He's such a piece of shit.
Well, we leave the custom tailor with the tailor telling him, maybe you should try a department store.
Yeah.
I want to get our listener up to date, especially if they haven't watched this episode of Columbo. There's a little scene in here where Columbo comes to like a quick political event, and the affair partner, he starts to apply the psychological warfare onto her too. So she's now kind of like in the thick of it. But then we do get this like very specific car scene. And I don't know if you want to like check this off the list for us, Pappy, but like Columbo's just like driving through a neighborhood and pulls into a checkpoint. Like, this is so random. He's not even at a crime scene or anything, right? It's just like a whole side car plot.
I was like, I gotta be honest. I love Columbo. I love Peter Falk. I could watch a 4-hour Columbo of him doing stuff all day. Of all the scenes that we've done, this would probably be near the bottom tier of Columbo scenes, just because it doesn't really serve any purpose to the story, and it's so fucking goofy. Dude, it's so ridiculous. Like, I guess I learned that in California, they could have, like, car safety checkpoints.
It's not an Indiana thing.
Yeah. No.
I think we've all grown up with seeing cars on the side of the road, left and right throughout Indiana.
I may or may not, I think the statute of limitations has passed. I may or may not have had a member of the family who clandestinely registered their car in Indiana to bypass vehicle inspection laws in their state.
God.
Dude, one of my former workplaces, they like jimmied the books so that they could like drive on the roads with a heavier load than they were supposed to have for that vehicle.
Jeez.
And I also feel like Indiana is a kind of like state where if you got like pulled over, the cop would be like, you're leaking oil back there. Make sure you put another liter in every gas station you stop at. Like every
Make
half
sure you
mile.
stop and put a liter in so you can make it home safely. Have a good night.
Now, if a deer slips, it's out of season, so you cannot keep it.
Pap, when you lived in other states, were there like other, like, I didn't know this until Brother Jordan lived out in the Carolinas, but like, were there like annual car inspections in other states that you lived in?
I think I had to have the smart car inspected once.
I get a CO2 test.
Yeah.
I think it's called the CO2 test, emissions test every year that I got to do. And I don't know what happens if you don't pass it, but if you don't get it in time, I think you got like a month after the date to get it. And then after that, I think if you get pulled over without it, they'll like suspend your license or something. So they take it pretty seriously.
Indiana, you can drive with 4 wheels and a chassis and you're not going to get pulled over.
As long as you're not brown, you can drive
Exactly.
anything.
You can drive anywhere down 31 at any speed.
But yeah, I mean, Josh, this scene, I'm not trying to hate on the scene. It just is really goofy and only leads to, at some point, Columbo needs to go to a service station, which is integral to the plot. But I mean, Josh, are you picking up what I'm putting down? This is not, it's just not my favorite Columbo scene. It's not bad. It's just super goofy and ridiculous.
I think it serves for us in a podcast because we get some like car lore. Like we know exactly what is wrong with it. We know how much it takes to fix it up and everything. $65. So if $17 is 100 and some, $65 is a bunch.
Wow.
And to the listeners that don't know what Columbo's car looks like, it's the same car that Harry Potter flew into the Whispering Willow Tree.
Yeah.
Like it's a piece of shit.
It's a Weasley car for sure.
It is a Weasley car.
Yeah.
But how is he able to drive the tow truck in the very next scene? Who gave him that?
He bribed the mechanic to let him borrow it.
Which is just nodded to in like really quick dialogue. So I don't know, Pappy, do you want to set that up too? Because I bet other people are confused about that too.
Okay, so after Columbo gets his car inspected, he has to take it to a service station. He goes to one close to the place where the actual murder happened. Well, all we see is like it goes from inspection. Next thing we see is Columbo's in a truck by the murder station, a service truck, and he's fucking flooring it. Like it's crazy. He's driving as fast as he can. They have a pretty cool shot too, like a kind of a crane shot of Columbo just pedal to the metal with this truck. I think he's doing a timed test, right, to see if he could get to all the places in the right time, as well as how long it takes an engine to cool down. Is that what he's doing here? I don't know if he's just testing some theories, basically. But I really like the goofy Columbo part where he tips the guy for letting him borrow the car, and then he doesn't have enough cash to repair his car because he was super generous with the tip.
You investigating that murder last week up the beach?
Yeah.
My luck. One night we have a little excitement, and I miss it.
What do you mean?
Wednesday night we ran out of gas. Closed at 8 o'clock.
Whoa.
I don't think this is like super integral to the episode because very quickly after this, we get into confrontation number 2. And Columbo decides he has enough new information. He's going to go bother Hayward himself again. So he shows up at his like estate. He's living in this like huge mansion. They're shooting a commercial back by the pool. There's huge like foyer areas where people are just like hanging out. And he starts to like really drill him down about the jacket again. And he's just like in his ear. And Stevie, I feel like this is the kind of scene where you would just be like, I don't know, Smithersing to the side. But basically when Columbo has Hayward very worried and Hayward has to go start shooting these commercials, and just like while he's shooting them and trying to say his lines, seeing Columbo in the periphery of his vision, like talking to his wife and probably getting new clues. Like something so delicious about this, right?
It's just that psychological warfare that Columbo just gets off on, right? It's like this man, he's vying for the biggest position he can be in his life so far. He's really ruffling feathers where he's getting inside the head of Mistress. He's showing up at the house again because we got to admit, right? Columbo's like a professional stalker at this point in every episode we've been in. That man can really just bother some people, right?
Well, he doesn't sleep.
No, and we see it in like nearly every episode. The man doesn't sleep. He's never on a good night's rest. It's just, he's always exhausted. But Hayward's kind of onto it where he's just like, why are you just on my ass 24/7, right? He goes to shoot this commercial, and you're right, there is something delicious about, I'm not going to screw with him while he's shooting his commercial, but I will screw with his wife. And it's just, you can just see the panic in Hayward's, in his eyes when they're shooting the commercial of, Columbo's going through all these theories, and, we're bringing up the watch, which is, we had to know I was going to come back to it, right? But also kind of the person that Harry was. It's those fun things we get to drop in on. And eventually, he's dividing all these camps. The wife's letting him say, like, even the mistress is like, he's making me nervous. Why is he asking all these questions? The wife is a lush again. She's like, he's making me nervous. Why is he asking all these questions? And it's really starting to catch up with Hayward where he's got to know Columbo's just onto him.
His wife like freaks out. Like right when Columbo leaves, she's like panic in her eyes.
Because I think she's starting to connect the dots too, right? She just doesn't want to believe it. She didn't believe it the night of the party, and he's kind of starting to plant these seeds into the wife's head, which is she's no dummy, but hey, like a lot of these things he's saying is starting to make sense. Like, could I have possibly married a monster like Nelson Hayward?
I think the mistress is kind of catching on in a similar way too. We're to the final climax and release of the episode here, and I'd love to just take it as a group. It's election day. Is Hayward going to get elected or not? Just spoiler, we never really find out what the voting totals are, do we? But
it seems like he's going to win.
He may win the election, but lose the war or something like that. Lose the battle, win the war. Mikey, why don't you get us started here? It's election day. By the end of this, the murder will be solved, but how's Hayward's day starting?
Yeah, so he shows up. It's pandemonium at the office. He is doing an arts and crafts ransom note that says something, if you win, you die. If you lose, you live, or something. It's the most basic looking ransom note. He's using Scotch tape on every single on every word that he's cut out. It looks really terrible.
Yeah, this is no Dick Van Dyke.
No.
Not even close.
Very half-assed. Of course, his shorty's there. She's providing comfort. She's providing solace, sexual
Smoochies.
release, something. But he is showing her this ransom note and saying, don't get the police involved. Just keep it under wraps, blah, blah, blah. Because he has a larger plan that she doesn't know about that he wants to put into action later in the day, where he's going to make it look like somebody shot at him.
Kind of a ballsy move to shoot a glass window and not expect it to shatter everywhere.
Plans within plans.
He's really taken a bona fide risk there.
Man, he really should have just shoved stone off a pier or something. He made this
He
way
made a
too
meal out of
complicated.
it, man. He really
On election day.
That brings me to my biggest point. If he really wanted to pull off a murder, he needed his campaign manager, Stone, to help him pull that off. Can't do anything without Stone.
He knows where all the bodies are.
Stone is clearly the brains behind the operation. And he says as much early in the movie, or early in the episode, but...
If I could do your talking for you just like I do your thinking for you, I'd be president.
Exactly.
I just started to make a phone call. I guess I just moved my head a little closer to the dial, and he fired from out there. All I could see was a figure.
This is such a ruse that backfires, but Pappy, do you want to be a little bit more specific? How does he try to frame up this assassination attempt?
Yeah. So Columbo, by the way, has been round the clock with Senator, now I guess Senator-elect Hayward, since the scene when he was shooting the commercial. So he's just been trailing him, stalking him, as Stevie said, the whole time, just right there with him. He tells his main bodyguard, hey, you tell me if he goes anywhere by himself. And Hayward goes to the bedroom at one point, once the election is pretty much called for him, to make some, quote, private phone calls, unquote. And the bodyguard, there's a pretty extended sequence, if I remember, like the bodyguard's doing a pretty big sweep of the room. I remember he even opens the door and sees a cop on the outside who gives him the thumbs up. Hayward has also snuck a gun into this room, which is the most secure room possible, given all of the death threats around him. And so what Hayward does is he runs out to the balcony with his gloves on, lines up a shot, and shoots towards where his phone is. But because the silencer is on, no one hears the glass break. And no one...
Yeah.
Pew!
Yeah. And then he hides the gun in the briefcase, which he will pass off to his mistress, and then he has now planted this murder that he will reveal later by like hiding it behind the chair and closing the curtain. It's involved. He may not be smart, but he put a lot of thought into this plan.
Mikey, as a newer like watcher of Columbo, they don't like show everything that's happening because all they show us is Columbo sleeping on a couch with newspapers.
Yeah.
But at some point in there, he had like gone into the room once he had left and like dug the bullet out of the wall, and he's like taking these actions, right?
Mm.
Do you like the way like they kind of edited this and like just kind of take us home on Columbo solving the crime here, would you?
Well, it's funny when you watch it because at the beginning of every episode, it runs through the entire episode showing like a bunch of key moments. And then when you get to the end, there's usually so little time left that it wraps up so quickly that it feels like you're missing some parts. And this would be one of those scenes where Columbo just is like, oh yeah, I dug the bullet out of the hole that I somehow knew you were going to fake your own assassination attempt. I don't really understand how he knew that, but I guess he was just looking for something that would maybe incriminate him or something, and maybe he came across the bullet, but it just kind of wraps up so quickly at the end where Columbo just is like, yeah, I got the bullet right here, and knew exactly what he was trying to do by shooting at the wall. And I mean, the guy throws a firecracker on the ground in his office or whatever, and everybody thinks it's a gunshot, but Columbo is the only one not phased. He says the killer is in this room right now, or the shooter is in this room right now.
Do you guys think he really predicted like him to pull out a gun and do an assassination thing, or just like try to hide evidence? Like, is this just another step? Like, he just keeps applying pressure till something happens, I guess. I don't know.
Yes, I was going to say, it's like a full court press in basketball, right? Like, maybe you'll get a turnover, maybe there'll be an errant pass, maybe you'll get a steal, maybe you'll get a 10-second violation. You're just trying to create chaos. Columbo is just trying to get in his head as much as possible.
I like how the sergeant goes, well, whoever tried to shoot you, sir, must be able to fly. And the senator just goes, I'm not the killer. Like, why do you think I'm the shooter? Enough of this innuendo. It's not me.
And you will concede, sir, that if there's a bullet in here, I cannot be the murderer.
No, sir.
And would you say that having failed to hit the intended victim, the trajectory indicates that this hole in the wall was caused by the spent bullet?
Yes, sir.
Would you further concede that if this bullet proves to be from the same gun that killed Harry Stone, that the same hand fired both shots?
Yes, sir.
Then all that remains for you is to dig the bullet out of the wall and take it to ballistics for a comparison.
No, sir. I've already dug the bullet out of the wall, and ballistics has already verified that it came from the same gun.
I was thinking about the editing of the ending, Josh, what you touched on. Like, one theory I had was maybe it ends so abruptly because the fallout from this murder in Columbo
it would be the biggest story in America.
The biggest story in American fucking history.
Yeah.
Dude. Like,
Yeah.
This would be nuts.
If he got caught having an affair alone, it would be the biggest story in the country. Like that week, he got caught like having an affair
on election night.
Yeah, elected U.S. senator has murdered a person. Like they have to deal with like, well, what do you do with that? Like from the Constitution's perspective, like what happens? Like,
hey, whoa, what do you mean?
Can he rule from prison?
If he did it as part of his official duties, he's fine. Right?
I don't know what happens. This is crazy. This is insane.
No, if you commit murder as what your official duty is as president, it's...
I guess that was my problem is I wanted to see the fallout because this would have been just absolutely bonkers on the news.
Yeah.
Well, his wife found out who the mistress was, though, so there's a little bit of fallout.
New details emerge in the Hayward scandal. A firecracker was found on the balcony.
Run us through that a little bit, Stevie, because I feel like we've done the female actresses a huge disservice in this episode. Like our review, they're fantastic, especially the wife. What is her name?
She's hot, Vicky. I think her actual real name was Joanne Linville.
Yes, I feel like she's a tremendous actor.
Yeah, she's really good in this episode. But like I said, she's no dummy. And she comes. Were they in the hotel room together? Is that where she found him, or was it the campaign office?
Campaign office.
Yeah, there's a part where Vicky walks in with Nelson Hayward and his mistress Linda, and you see her eyes scrambling, and you can just tell she knows right then. Okay, this is who it is. Like she's not a very dumb human being. I would say she's pretty smart.
I don't say this to be gross, but like it is Jennifer Aniston level in Friends nipple that she's showing, and I like that for her character, especially because like she's the one, you know, her powerful senator husband is cheating on her with a younger, quote, more beautiful woman, but like she's putting it out there and she looks good in this episode. So I think it's pretty empowering, and for like what, the mid-70s, it is pretty crazy.
I blinked for a second and thought she was nude a couple of times.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, I agree with you on a little bit of that, Pappy. I think especially, like, it works to make Hayward out to be that much more of a scumbag. Because A, his wife is an intelligent, beautiful woman. And B, the mistress is like, she kind of looks like his wife, just like a younger version or something. And that just like, anyone who hears those words, just like gross. It kind of makes your hair stand up a little bit. Like, your mistress is just a younger version of your wife.
Yeah. It's
like, fuck off, dude.
Yeah, we've joked about the bitch wife and like softening what the murderer had done. It's like, well, look at what she's done. But I think she is the most sympathetic by far, even though she's not the one murdered. Like, I feel really bad for her.
Sometimes you just got to talk to your bitch wife. Just talk it out.
I kind of like what you said, though, Pap, about how it just ends with, "You're under arrest, sir." And it's immediately directed by. Like, it's immediate. There's no, like, "Nelson, how could you?" Or, like, Linda going, "No!" Like, it's literally just done. Because you're right, though, that would be the biggest story, like, in probably U.S. political history outside, like, the Lincoln assassination, which is, like, on the night a U.S. senator was elected, he was charged with murder of his campaign manager to cover up the affair he was having with his wife's assistant. Like, there's so many levels to that where just a fraction of any part of that story would just be a huge scandal. Throw that all in a bowl, and you got a real stew going. It's nuts.
New details emerged yet again in Hayward Gate as it's found that the senator made a prank phone call imitating an Italian mafioso to cover up his crime. We have tape of that now.
Local dentist says not possible.
Yeah. He says, don't forget the Pope is also Italian.
All right. Well, that is Candidate for Crime? Great. That is Candidate for Crime, Season 3, Episode 3 of Columbo. This, like, 50-year-old TV show that we're, for some reason, covering right now.
Don't say
and
for
just
some reason. It's magnificent.
It's the best.
And just having a blast doing it is what I was going to say. Like, I don't know, you guys. Do you think, like... Sometimes I feel like people kind of peruse through our 500-plus episode list, and they kind of cherry pick the movies that they've, like, seen. It just seems like a big ask to ask someone to, like, watch a movie or watch a TV show just to listen to a podcast about it. But that's essentially what we're doing with this whole series, right? We're, like, begging our biggest fans, like, watch this and listen.
Columbo is so outlandish. It doesn't even need to be watched. You can just feel it from the way we talk about it. It's an insane show. Like, I mean, I would say this to any of our listeners. Please watch Columbo because it's really of its time and fun to watch. Every episode's like an hour and a half long. And there's some of your favorite people from yesteryears are, they're in it.
It somehow makes the movie Princess Bride, already a perfect movie, better.
Yes. Is Candidate for Crime the The longest episode we've done is an hour and 38.
Yeah, it was real long.
That's a long one.
2-hour block.
At least.
Did you guys notice the lady who was pouring the wine at the surprise party, but the bottle was empty? And then she kind of like freaked out in the scene because she didn't know what to do?
No.
Like one of the extras.
No. That's funny.
Watch for that, listeners. She pours the wine, it's empty, and she was like, kind of doesn't know what to do. And the scene cuts
That's really
shortly
funny.
after.
Just Ricky Bobby's it. I don't know what to do with my hands.
I think that happened to me 2 weekends ago at a party. Like, I thought there was wine in there, and I was pouring it. Then there's no wine.
Dude, the wife drank it all. It was actually...
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell happened to this?
It's just another layer of the story, that's all.
All right, let's get into yes or no's. We got a little bit more to go with spoilers here, so don't just despair. We have yes or no's. We got a little bit of trivia. We'll have a hot take at the end. There's plenty to go. But Mikey, why don't you get us started off here? Like, give us a yes or no in this episode of Columbo, and maybe, like, do you recommend listeners watch these episodes of Columbo before they listen to these, or ever? Like, what's your thoughts on that, like, media consumption aspect of it?
Yeah, I will give this a hard yes. I find this show to be extremely entertaining despite how old it is and being like an old CBS show or whatever from the 70s. I mean, you wouldn't think it'd be that fun or entertaining or comedic, I guess, with the content that it has, but I just think it's really enjoyable. Peter Falk is really funny to me. I haven't seen him in anything else other than Columbo, but he's just a really funny guy. Just from his physical presence alone, he's doing a lot. But when I listen to other movie podcasts, I find it really hard to kind of picture what's happening if I don't watch the movie before or have seen the movie before or try to actively watch it to listen to a podcast or whatever. So I would suggest to go and watch Columbo. I mean, this was the longest one we did, and it was 98 minutes, so it's not the longest runtime. I'd say that's pretty good on my rating. I like 90-minute movies. I think that's a nice sweet spot there. And I mean, you get to see him in action. You get to see him just mentally torturing every single suspect he comes into contact with. You get to see all these funny characters that he's surrounded by. I think it's an enjoyable show. And I would have probably never picked it up if we weren't doing episodes on it. So yeah, I think you should watch it. I think people will get a lot more out of these episodes if they do as well.
Pappy?
Yeah, definite hard yes. I would say of the 4, it's probably my
5.
4 or 5. Of the 5, it's probably my 5th, but I would call it my 5th favorite. And I think that's probably also because Jackie Cooper, amazing career. By the way, he's also known for being Jackie from Little Rascals. It's like, I don't know. When I see the picture of him, I kind of recognize him from like the original Little Rascals. So he's been in shit since like the 20s.
Sheesh.
Like, so he had like a 50-year. Yeah.
Damn.
Which is crazy to think about.
Depression.
Imagine being on set and
he-
be like, I was in silent films.
Yeah. You kids and your talkies. But, you know, he is like the least prolific of the 5 that Columbo villains that we've done, right? And this one does have a little bit of a weird mix of like, this story is batshit insane. Like this, the premise of this murder, also with like really, really goofy Columbo getting his car fixed. But man, I love Peter Falk, and I love some of like the jokes in this episode. And I think that like 16-minute scene that we talked about of in the campaign office, Columbo picking up clues about the coat and the mistress, and then like just breaking this man down and like getting him to confess, and like basically like Columbo leaving that office like, this is the guy. Like that's what this show's all about, man. It's so good. Hard yes. Yeah, definitely watch the Columbos. Stevie has done an incredible job of like an ayahuasca journey guide. Like Stevie has guided me through the world of Columbo, like by curating these episodes. So I have had Yeah, I've had a great trip down this road, Stevie. I appreciate it. More Columbo. Columbo today.
Glad you guys are enjoying it.
Columbo tomorrow. Columbo forever.
Josh from Goshen here. I still love what we're doing, even though like what you're saying is true, Peppy. It's a little random the way we've popped around in these episodes, but it's so fun and satisfying to watch them. And I think back to my point earlier about like, I would just beg the viewer to please try to watch these episodes. They're free on Tubi. A lot of them you can find on Internet Archive. And just like maybe throw them on while you're doing the dishes or while you're going to sleep, and you will slowly get sucked in. One problem I have with watching older shows like this is like knowing they're older and I don't know, maybe this is morbid, but like kind of like people are like dead and stuff. It's just kind of like a lonely feeling sometimes. But I think like the fact that we're doing this right now, we're doing a run of it, you can contact us and ask us questions about it. We'll read your questions on the air and we can kind of have fun with this all together and we can talk about it on the podcast. Is just making it like all the more fun and just like adding so much more like life to these episodes. So anyway, this is a huge yes for me. And just like one other quick note is that Columbo does say the word hell in this episode. He's like, I didn't know what the hell you were doing in there. And I was just kind of like,
whoa.
Oh man, edgy Columbo. Just wanted to note that. But Josh from Goshen. Stevie, you're last.
Yeah, I kind of, I would say this is probably my fourth favorite we've done so far. But it's like Pap said, the fourth favorite. This is a hard yes. I know it's kind of ridiculous that we're starting to do, like, we've already done 5 Columbo episodes. This is a lot of fun to do, but, you know, it's one thing to do kind of like a corny piece of television that doesn't age well. I think Columbo ages very well. I think a lot of TLC was put into the show. I think it still looks pretty high budget. And I don't think they cut a whole lot of corners with, you know, the acting or the, I guess say the story, how they do things. Like, it's just a fun way they unfold these episodes. You know, Nelson Hayward, played by Jackie Cooper, tremendous piece of slime. He's a lot of fun to watch in this episode. And just the abrupt ending, as well as the "Do you concede" speech, along with, like Pat, you guys said, the office scenes where you get 5 just one more things. This is a prime Columbo episode. So if you're listening to these episodes, you haven't watched Columbo, please do so. They are a really, really great piece of television I think everybody would enjoy, including the whole family. It's just, you know, a great piece of television. And Peter Falk is the man, so hard yes.
I wanted to read this comment on our last episode of Columbo we released called A Stitch in Crime. It's the one with Leonard Nimoy. Do you guys care if I read this feedback we got on Spotify?
Yeah.
Go for it.
It's from it's from D. Strecker 407. He said, awesome stuff. You know, Spielberg directed the first episode of Columbo. Hope you guys cover that one too.
Woohoo, we should.
Stevie, is there a chance you might handpick that one, handcrafted for us?
If it's what the people want, we'll do it.
Do you have a grudge against Spielberg?
No, it's just I've always like kind of dreamed about when you guys said this is the last one of Columbo, we'll do episode 1. But if like someone took time out of their day to listen to a podcast of 4 friends in the northern Midwest talk about a show that's 50 years old, I will gladly oblige and do episode 1 as our next episode. That would be a lot of fun.
Well, no promises yet, David, or D. Striker 407, but let's get into trivia. It's going to be pretty quick today, guys, but very apt, if I must say so myself. So, the main plot of this Columbo episode revolves around a political figure and his possible imminent assassination, the threat of murder. So my yes or no question to you, this is a little bit arbitrary, but let's just go Mikey, Stevie, Pappy for this.
Is there a basketball trophy on the line?
What did I say? This is going to be arbitrary. Mikey, Stevie, Pappy. So this will just be for a hot take and to toss us off to Spoiler Man. And sorry, there's no basketball trophy or anything cool like that, Pappy. But
damn. No stolen memorabilia.
People love the hot takes.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have the best hot takes of all time. But anyway, Mikey, you're first. So, how many American politicians have been assassinated? It's closest to
assassinated or assassination attempt?
Assassinated. So I believe this is a list of.
Whoa.
They might be senators. They might be representatives, or they might be
giants.
Are they mayors?
No, I think it's just national level. So this is like Supreme. It's one of the three main branches:
Congress, Senate, President.
And
Supreme
has anyone
Court.
from the Supreme Court ever been assassinated? I'm not sure, but I think it includes that too.
Successfully assassinated. I'll say 12.
Stevie?
Oh, let's go with the Queen's number. Let's go with 39.
Pappy, for just a little extra credit, how many presidents have been assassinated? Do you know that?
I do.
Isn't it 3? 2?
Quattro.
2.
Stevie?
4.
That's right. Lincoln, Garfield,
4?
McKinley, Kennedy.
Yep.
That's a lot. Well, I'll say more than 4. I guess I'll say...
Sorry to give it away.
Stevie said 39. I'll say like 27. I think that's like halfway in between-ish. It could be way more. I don't know if it's going to count duels and shit.
I'm just reading Wikipedia, but assassinations carried out against American politicians occurred as early as the 19th century, the earliest of which is believed to be David Ramsey in 1815. But anyway, since then, several politicians have been assassinated while elected or appointed to office. And the answer is 61.
Damn.
Wow. Whoa.
That's a lot.
I feel like I haven't heard of 50 of those.
And I don't know if it's just alphabetical or based on popularity, but you got old Abe sitting right up there at the top, leading the list.
This is the famous one.
What a great stat.
A Supreme Court justice has never been assassinated or injured in an attempt. And now I'm on an FBI list for searching.
Maybe that's Luigi's next job, but Stevie, do you have a hot take?
It's not a hot take, but this is more so of a PSA. For those of you that have HBO or Max, as David Zaslav idiotically wants it called, there's a show on there called White Lotus, created by a guy named Mike White. You guys might remember Mike White as Ned Schneebly from School of Rock, the roommate that kicks Jack Black out in the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
He is the showrunner, creator, writer. It's on season 3 right now, which features Walton Goggins. Season 1 had Steve Zahn. Season 2 had what's Zero's name from Grand Budapest when he's older? I forget the actor's name. But it's a brilliantly well-crafted series. I think people would really enjoy. Definitely don't let the little ones watch it, but it's pretty much just about each season is a week at a Four Seasons hotel called White Lotus in a different part of the world. Season 1's Hawaii. Season 2, if I remember correctly, was in Italy. And Season 3 is now in Thailand. And they're a lot of fun to watch. Really dark humor. I would suggest anyone that has time, since we're kind of in a slower season in media, definitely watch White Lotus. You'll really enjoy it.
Is it like tone-wise? Like, what would you compare it to? You said dark humor.
Fargo.
Like, is it more of a comedy? Fargo?
Nice.
Okay. Death of Stalin? Like that
Death
kind
of Stalin. That's a
humor?
good way to, yeah. That's a really good one to put at, yeah. Kind of like Succession, but it's like a vacation Succession. It's kind of that type of kind of tone to it, but take it away, spoilers, man.
Special thank you to our patrons, Matt Troll, Brother Brian, Druid King, Nick, The Meg, Nurse Stacy, The Wolf, Barky 420, PK, Spencer, Gale, Swole, Cheese Zombie, Sebastian, Dr. Lars, Stone Cold Austin, Nephew Quinn, Best Friend Drew, Shatty Daddy, Jimmy the Cricket, Optimus E, the Ayatollah of Rock and Rolla, Derbs, Teddy Ruxpin. If you'd like to request an episode, hear your name read by Spoiler Man, or even just help us make podcasts, please check us out on patreon.com/spoilerspodcast. Be sure to check out Corey's podcast, Big Dumb Movie. Our email is podcastspoilers@gmail.com. Twitter is @spoilers_pod. Our Instagram is Podcast Spoilers. It's lit. Josh Hensley from the Rutabaga wrote our theme song. Please support this podcast by leaving us an iTunes review. To do this, 1. Search for Movie Spoilers. 2. Click on our orange Spoilers Bowl logo and scroll all the way to the bottom. 3. Leave us some stars and some words. Now you can check us out on Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, Apple, and Google Podcasts. Spoilers is now available on Audible.
Josh said, deuces.
Is he gone? The FBI got him after that Luigi comment.
He said, free a Luigi. And they just nabbed him in the night.
That was Spoilers.